differently. I'm built differently. I'm built differently. I'm built differently. I'm built.
I think it's fair to assume that Peridot is probably the weakest crystal gem. To be fair, there are some feats she has which seem to be outliers though. For example, the diamond mech hits her once and she doesn't even poof or shatter or anything, which is very impressive. However, given the fact that this same mech is capable of defeating or at least fighting obsidian, I very doubt this is consistent with Peridot's usual durability, which was poofed by Garnet alone with her bare hands. Aside from that, there's the fact that she did poof Jasper as well. However, it does also seem to be inconsistent with her usual strength, as she doesn't seem to usually be on Garnet's level in terms of combat. And also, at the time, Jasper was unstable at the time, basically. So it just doesn't seem to be something Peridot usually does, and more usually than not, she seems to be probably the weakest crystal gems, unfortunately. Not to say that she's weak, but she kinda is weak, unfortunately. Above her, I guess I would put Sapphire and Ruby, because they don't really showcase anything too impressive unless they are fused. I think Ruby is stronger than Sapphire because Sapphire is not a combat type gem. She is more of a diplomat kind of dealio, whereas rubies are specifically made to be bodyguards, which Ruby was the bodyguard of Sapphire. If Sapphire was way stronger than rubies, she wouldn't really need bodyguards. Stronger than both Ruby and Sapphire individually is Amethyst, who is strong enough to actually fight Pearl. She did lose that fight with Pearl, and we're gonna get into Pearl later, but she is capable of fighting Pearl, and she's capable of fighting Season 3 Steven, who you could argue she was even stronger than, because he was about to get clapped a bunch of times, and she kinda saved him within their battle. She's still way weaker than someone like Jasper, as we can see from their encounters, so I don't think she's as strong as Garnet. However, it is stated, at least by Steven, that when she goes all out, Amethyst can even get to the point where she's close to Garnet in strength. Now, not close enough that she would beat Garnet, because obviously I have her below Garnet, because we also know that she's below Jasper in terms of strength, and Garnet is more relative to Jasper. Some would say even superior. However, that's up to interpretation. I do think Amethyst is, I don't want to say stronger than people give her credit to, but I want to say that the main three crystal gems are not as far apart as some people might think. I think they're mostly relative. However, Garnet is physically stronger than you. I think one of the more surprising entries on this list is Connie. Yes, I do have Connie on this list, and yes, she is above Amethyst. You might ask why. However, the answer is fairly obvious. Because if you look back, even throughout Season 3, given the fact that this version of Connie is on par with Season 3 Steven, who is more or less on par with Amethyst, plus she has all the skills and swordsmanship that she got from Pearl, to the point where she's pretty impressive, even being able to hold her own against Topaz for a little at least. I think it's fair to assume she's better than Amethyst. I would say that in future you could probably argue Amethyst would beat her. However, if you take Connie with the Sword of Rose, she only needs one slash, and to be fair, given that Connie's durability doesn't have crazy feats either, I think it's fair to assume that Amethyst could also beat Connie. Again, I'm not saying that this is a definitive Connie beats Amethyst 10 out of 10. However, I do think maybe 6 or 7 out of 10 Connie takes this battle between her and Amethyst. Now, I've seen people debate this. Some people saying that Amethyst beats Pearl. However, I don't really believe that. Not only does she have clones of herself that she can use in combat, but she's obviously superior to Season 2 and 3, Steven and Connie. Not only that, but she actually fights Amethyst and even tells her, "You can't beat me." And Amethyst is like, "I don't care." She doesn't say it's not true, she just thinks she doesn't care about it because she's very mad. And we even see that when it comes to skill, there's a clear difference between them, to the point that someone like Pearl can even outsmart Sugalite and defeat her. And Sugalite is way stronger than Amethyst, and I don't think Amethyst is smart enough that Pearl couldn't outsmart her or make her lose by sheer technician and intelligence. Wait, I said technician. Technique and intelligence is what I meant. I feel like the fact that she's obviously more skilled than even Steven and Connie were back in Season 3, it's enough to put her above them. And Amethyst, I feel like it's closer to that than Pearl. Now again, I'm not saying Pearl beats Amethyst 10 out of 10 times, but she does beat her, let's say, 6 to 7 out of 10 times in my eyes. And to be honest, I think this is even less controversial than Connie beating Amethyst. However, this is Pearl in character. I actually have a special place for Pearl higher on the list, where she's not in character, but where I think she could be if she went all out. But we have to wait for that, because next are Bismuth and Garnet. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know where to put Bismuth, if I should put her below or above Garnet. Because we know, we have the information that they have fought together against battalions of gems before, on par, side by side, etc. So they must be at least close. And we even seen them spar when Bismuth basically trained with the crystal gems. And in that fight, Bismuth was also, sparring with Pearl at the same time. So it gives me the vibe that you might argue, and I would argue, that Bismuth might even be stronger than Garnet. But that's pretty weak evidence. So all I'm gonna say is that I do think she's above Pearl, as she was matching Garnet in strength and has fought side by side with Garnet. So it's easier to see her being close to Garnet than Pearl. And I think Garnet is above Pearl for a plethora of reasons. Not only that it's canon confirmed that she's the strongest out of the 3 crystal gems in terms of power, but also just when it comes to who would win in a fight, she has fought Jasper before. Sure, at first she got destabilized, but when they were fighting a one-on-one battle, both prepared, she was on par with Jasper, if not beat her. Whereas Amethyst lost to Jasper every time, easily, and from what we've seen, Pearl also lost to Jasper pretty easily. And the first time they fought, it was Pearl and Amethyst against Jasper, so that's even worse. So yeah, just in general, it does seem like Garnet is the strongest out of the team. She has future vision. She's the leader. It seems like she's the strongest from what we've seen, at least in the show. And here is where I would put Pearl if I could control her, if she would go all out, if she wasn't on character, if she would not act like she acts in the show, if she would use her powers smartly. This is what I think she could be, because if you remember correctly, Pearl was actually able to take her hologram clones and fuse them. Yes, technically speaking, Pearl could make fusions out of her holograms. And even if you want to say that her holograms aren't as strong as her, fusing them makes gems exponentially stronger. And she can make up to what, 6 clones? Now, imagine if she could make 3 or 4 gem fusions or hologram fusions or whatever you want to name them and helped her in battle. That would be so useful, and she never uses them. And yes, I think with like fusions on her side that she could technically make out of her clones, I do think she could become stronger than Garnet or Bismuth. Or potentially, she could even beat the person that I'm gonna put above her. But that's more up to debate. But yeah, all I'm saying is that if Pearl used her powers properly and used the hologram pearls as fusions, she could have been like exponentially stronger. That's all I'm saying. But the plot would have to go to work around it, and they're not smart enough to write the plot around Pearl being the most OP character ever, to be honest. But now that we departed from potentially powerhouse Pearl, Lapis is the obvious next character. Come on, bro. Come on. Of course it's Lapis. She is, and yes, she's a crystal gem. She's like the B team of crystal gem. You know, she's part of the B team. She is strong enough to not only fight the other 3 crystal gems at once and kind of beat the hell out of them, which alone puts her above anyone below, right? But she was also able to beat Jasper on a few occasions. She can manipulate the whole Earth's ocean, you know, multiple continents, amount of water she can just like make into a tower. I don't think I need to explain why Lapis is here. She's potentially the strongest non-diamond character. And the only character who I see that's not a diamond and is stronger than her, it's like Obsidian, who's a fusion, or Malachite, who's also Lapis, but just a fusion of Lapis. And maybe you could argue that Aquamarine would be stronger because she was able to easily defeat Alexandrite. But outside of those characters and the diamonds, she's probably the strongest character in the show. Except Rose Quartz. Rose Quartz is the leader of the crystal gems. She's obviously stronger than any of the crystal gems. If you watch the show, you know the reason why. She's basically a weaker version of Steven. Yes, a weaker version of Steven, because at the end of the day, Steven is number 1, as by the end, he at least partially got his full powers. We never see Pink or Rose or whatever use her full powers. However, we have seen Steven use his full powers, and his full power is scary. He literally bodied the crystal gems, all of them, literally all of them, plus the diamonds, plus the diamond mech, plus everyone. He's obviously the strongest character in the show. He even fought the cluster. He's the strongest character in the universe. There's no one I can think of that could beat Steven. It's like, he's a monster, literally, but also figuratively. He is a pretty strong motherfucker. And not only he's strong, but he has a lot of abilities. Like, for example, he can heal himself, or he can move fast enough that the crystal gems seem in slow motion compared to him. That's how fast he can be. Also, he can use shields and spikes on his shields to, kill people. And he can grow into Godzilla. And even if you kill his physical form, he has the gem, his pure pink gem, which comes back to life and kills you and is even stronger than himself. So, yeah, it's pretty fucked up how strong this guy is. He is incredibly strong. And he is the strongest crystal gem. And that's about it. that was it. That was my ranking of the crystal gems from weakest to strongest. Tell me your ranking in the comments below, but I'm just gonna say it from now. It's probably wrong. Mine is right. See you next time. Goodbye.